All right, so before we get started drafting, I want to go over object snaps because they're kind of fundamental in all aspects of drafting. What an object snap is it allows you to snap to objects like it sounds like. It's what allows you to be very precise. Without object snapping turned off, and I'm going to turn it off down here with the toggle, which is right here, the object snap, okay? Without it, I'm going to go ahead and draw a line real quick and finish that line out. Without object snapping, I don't really have a way to maybe snap to the beginning of this line. I can get close to it with my mouse. I can zoom in, but because AutoCAD is a vector-based program and not pixel-based, I can never really see the true end of that line. I can get really close and put it there. When you zoom out, it looks like I'm there, right? But when you zoom in really close, it's not there, okay? That's where object snapping comes into play. So I'm going to delete this. And I'm going to turn on object snapping. There's two ways. You saw the toggle here earlier at the bottom. Or you can hit F3. That is your OSNAP toggle. Okay. And also by typing in OSNAP, you bring up the full dialog box that controls all of, mine's off screen, sorry, that controls all of the snaps. And I'm going to go through each one of these snaps, and I'll turn them all on. I don't use all of these, but they're handy. In fact, I've actually never used parallel, whatever. And if you need further descriptions about what each one of them does, you can turn them on, or you can just see them in action yourself. So I'm going to need for this example a line and a circle probably. Okay, so actually I'm going to turn all the snaps off. So I'm just going to turn all these snaps off, and you can actually enter these snaps in manually. You can force them without having to. This is for when you want them to come up automatically. But let's say I want to snap to the end of this line, right? So I invoke a line command, and I type in end. So I'm in the middle of a command, and this only works in a command. Outside of a command, it won't really make sense. The AutoCAD will tell you it's not a command. Like, watch this. I'll type in end outside of the command, and it's there's nothing there. We'll just discontinue that command. If I did like a something else, like a quadrant, it does something completely different than what I want it to do. So what I want to do here is I want to create, I want to snap to the end of this line. So mid command, I'm going to type in end. And what happens is as I get close to the end of that line, it's going to give me a marker. That's an endpoint marker. And what's going to happen is as long as that marker shows up, I can click and select the end of that line as long as I see the endpoint marker there. And now when I put my line attached to this one, no matter how much I zoom in, you can see it's connected because I snapped to the end of that line. Okay, so, and I'll do this again, and you can see that it works to either end of this line, but it's only wanting to snap to the ends of the line. And so that's basically how snaps work, only there's different types of snaps. We can also go to the middle of the line. We can, well, now I can start turning all of them on. We have endpoint. We have midpoint, which is the middle of the line. We have the center of a circle. The geometric center of the circle is something kind of different. I'll have to like, I would say don't even worry about the geometric center. Some of the ones you might not use. Node is kind of questionable. It's for snapping to text and dimension nodes and points. Intersection is definitely used for the intersection of two lines. Quadrant is the quadrant of a circle. Extension, not so much. It creates an extension on the end of a line, or arc in this case, or it says lines and arcs. Insertion is for like blocks and text. I do use that occasionally. Perpendicular I do use quite a bit. If you're drawing a line to another line, it'll make a perpendicular line, which is kind of nice. Tangent goes to the tangent of a circle. Nearest is just anywhere on the line. Apparent intersection is really for 3D. It's if two lines are overlapping, they will if they're overlapping but they're not in the same plane, you can still get them to what do you call it? You can snap to the where they cross. Intersection, they have to be exactly overlapping. So, and then you have parallel, which is just going to force a line to be parallel. So you can see I've got like different snaps popping up here because I've got them all like selected. Can I invoke? No. There it is. There's a parallel. By kind of getting near this line, what I've done is I've typed in PAR to force parallel to this line, and now I get like this dashed phantom line to allow me to parallel with that one. If you need to do something like that. So we've got our midpoint, which you can see here. Nearest runs along, so anywhere along this line you can see you've got that symbol. Perpendicular is if I get to this one, it can be perpendicular. I don't use nearest for that reason because it kind of gets in the way. So I'm going to turn off nearest. OS is the short key command for OSNAP. And I'm going to turn off nearest because it's basically always on, which some people like that. I'm not a huge fan of that. If I want to use nearest, I'll use nearest. But and it's probably the same thing with parallel. You're probably honestly never going to use parallel or extension. The rest of them, there's a good chance you'll use them. Maybe not even apparent intersection. So I'll intersect two lines, and you can see that intersection gives me an X right at the center of these two, so I can draw from the intersection of those two. Putting a line down here, if I come over here, I get this perpendicular snap, which will force this line to be perpendicular to this one, no matter what the angle is. Coming over to here, if I hover over the circle, you'll see that I get a tick mark in the center, a little cross mark, and that allows me to snap to the center of the circle. Or I can go to the quadrants, and I can snap to a quadrant of a circle. And I don't know if I have tan left on or not. Tan is like this. If I draw a line here, I can tan snap to this, which, by basic geometry, it makes this line tangent to this circle. So lots of different snaps. Find out which ones work for you. And I'm going to inject a pro tip right now that, is a little bit farther than the beginner phases of learning snaps. Whenever you pick whatever snaps you like, you're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to stick to these snaps. I don't need anything more, nothing less. I like these snaps. So for me, in my case, I don't really use tangent. And I think that's pretty much, I think I use insertion. I think that's what I use. So what happens is you can type in a variable in your command line called OSMODE. You can write this down if you need to. Okay. And whatever value is right here, that reflects what is selected. Okay. In that box, in the dialog box we were just looking at. If I set this to 0 and I go back to that dialog box, they're all unselected. So my number that I prefer to use is actually 247. You saw before it said 255. I'm going to type in OSMODE and put in 247. And when I go back and look at that menu, the ones that I use are selected. I think, I don't typically have node turned on, which I didn't actually get to show you node. But sometimes you might put in like a point, and there's a little point right there. You're rarely ever going to use a point. But if you ever wanted to, you can type in node as a snap, and you can snap to that node. So nodes are on dimension lines, points, and I believe that's it, because you're going to use insertion. Let's do that. Okay, so that OSMODE. That OSMODE is your preferred snap layout. So once you get, like, let's go ahead and change it. Let's say you're not me, and you say, you know what, I don't really want to use quadrant. I do want to use extension. I don't want to use perpendicular. It gets in the way. I like using nearest. Say okay. So my OSMODE number was 247. But now when I type in that OSMODE again, it's got a different number there. You can either memorize this or write it down somewhere, but that number reflects what your snaps are. The reason this is important is because if you're at a place, or when you go somewhere new and you're setting up your snaps, or for whatever reason your snaps get reset, you can just type in OS mode, type in that number, in my case 247, and it'll put my preferred snaps back where they were. I happen to actually work at a company where they have some customization in their AutoCAD, and it resets the OSNAP to 0, the OS mode to 0, which causes problems. So I'm constantly having to set my OS mode back to 247. So that's just a way for you to get your preferred snaps back. You can change the color of the snap. This is going a little bit further beyond what you need to know. But if you don't like the dark green, you can change the auto snap. I believe it is 2D auto snap marker and 3D. There is 3D snap, but I wouldn't worry about that right now because we're working with 2D. You can change the color to anything else you want to. So if I wanted to change the auto snap marker to red, I can change it to red, say apply and close, hit OK. Again, I went to the options menu here by typing in OP. I went to the drafting tab, and then under auto snap settings, clicked color and changed the auto snap color to red. And this is where you can change the marker size of the little box that pops up. So there we are. Now it's red. The one last thing you can change is a setting called the aperture, and you can adjust it here, or you can type in aperture. What this is this is an invisible box that now I think you can even show the aperture box. Display auto snap aperture box. See that box now? What happens is as soon as that box crosses the object, then my auto snap kicks in. Aperture controls how big that box is. So if I type in aperture and change it from 10 to 20 and do that line command again, you can see how much bigger it gets. It's massive now. And it just shows you that it gets, as soon as it crosses that box, it turns the snap on. You can choose to turn that box off, but leave that aperture at 20. And you can see that, you know, I'm out here and it's catching that snap. If I change that aperture to say 3, I got to get like right up on that line for that snap to kick in. It's your personal preference on how soon you want that snap to kick in. Aperture will control that variable or that setting. That is the setting, and the default for that is 10. So that's pretty much everything you need to know about object snapping. I don't. So there are a couple of settings that go along with it, like the marker, the magnet. If you wanted to like actually have the magnet effect. But for the most part, that's object snaps, and that's all you need to know. Like most of the other stuff in these tutorials, I'm going to revisit after I do the basics. I'm going to revisit and show the more advanced topics. But this is it for snaps. I'm not going to revisit this. Is everything you'll need to know about object snaps and how to manipulate them. So if you get confused or lost, come back to this video and see how to mess with object snaps. So just to recap real quick. F3 turns your snaps on and off. OS, or the full command is OSNAP, will open up your OSNAP dialog box. And OS mode will show you your preferred setup number. And aperture will change how how closely your snap kicks in. So, and that's it.